Good evening. Welcome to the Orange County School Board regularly scheduled meeting this Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. Board members are attending via WebEx, so I'm going to take roll call. Let me begin with Member Gallo.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening.
Good evening. Member Lopez.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening. Member Cobert.
Good evening, Chair.
Good evening. Vice Chair Gould.
Good evening to all.
Good evening. Dr. Gordon.
Good evening, Chair.
Good evening. Dr. Castor-Denel.
Good evening.
Good evening. And Member Byrd.
Good evening.
Good evening. Before we begin, we customarily begin our meetings with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And let me ask if Member Byrd would lead us in both. Member Byrd, you're recognized.
Thank you so much. Actually, I'm really glad that you called on me. I want to just take a minute to recognize one of our students that we sadly lost this weekend. Dexter Rentz was a senior from Ocoee High School. He was about to graduate and go to Louisville University on a full scholarship for football. From everything I've read about him, he was a wonderful young man, was leaving his grandfather's house in his car, ready to go, and got shot in his car as he was leaving. Wrong place, wrong time. Terrible, terrible loss for everyone, and a terrible loss for the Ocoee High School communities. They're really grieving his loss. So I just want to take a moment to remember him, and as we have our moment of silence, if you can keep his family in your thoughts and prayers, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Member Byrd.
Thank you. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Member Byrd. That was such horribly tragic news, and I wanted to call on you so that you could make sure that we properly remembered and keep him in our prayers. Also, board members may or may not know, but also out in Member Byrd's district in Apopka, our mayor in Apopka just lost his father. So we also, those of us who know Brian particularly well, will be keeping him in our prayers, as well as I'm sure the entire city of Apopka is. We, coming out of that sad and somber news, we have many proclamations that we are celebrating, more than we would typically celebrate in one meeting, but this is because of the condensed number of meetings. So the board will be proclaiming the month of May 2020 as Better Hearing and Speech Month here in Orange County Public Schools. We are also proclaiming the month of May as Building Safety Month in Orange County Public Schools. We are proclaiming the month of May as Foster Care Month in Orange County Public Schools. We are also proclaiming the month of May as Internal Audit Awareness Month in Orange County Public Schools, and Mental Health Month, as well as May 7th as the National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day here in Orange County Public Schools. And we are proclaiming May 1st, 2020 as School Lunch Hero Day in Orange County Public Schools. And we are proclaiming May 4th through 8th as Teacher Appreciation Week in Orange County Public Schools. We have a lot to celebrate in the month of May. I think we need to formally adopt a resolution extending the month of May for at least 3 months to allow us to celebrate all that we need to celebrate. And maybe that would also allow us time to get past any threat of this pandemic and properly celebrate our seniors on a much more serious note. But let me now recognize Dr. Jenkins to introduce the videos, as well as Rod Pascal, Teacher of the Year, who will read the proclamation recognizing our teachers. Dr. Jenkins, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, this time of year is so special to us. We always have wonderful sponsors in our community that help us recognize our teachers who do phenomenal work. This year in particular, it's been challenging for our 14,000 teachers, but we've got great accolades for them as well. And before our Teacher of the Year reads the proclamation, let me just mention a couple of the perks that we have. Foundation for Orange County Public Schools has secured gifts from some of our outstanding partners in education. So every teacher gets something from Flipper's Pizzeria and from Bahama Bucks and from Jeremiah's Italian Ice and from WonderWorks. And then after they receive those free items, we have drawings for additional gifts as well, as we do every year, totaling more than $700,000 in donations to our district's amazing teachers. So they're invited to enter into the drawing for those gifts, including scholastic books, jewelry, Orlando Magic game tickets, gift cards, as well as a special daily gift card drawing sponsored by Addition Financial. Thanks to all of our wonderful sponsors. Teachers, make sure you sign up on that email that will come from me so you can be eligible to win some of those additional prizes. We truly appreciate our partners in education for recognizing our phenomenal teachers. And for parents and students as well, that week of May 3rd, wouldn't hurt for you to send a special thank you note to our outstanding teachers. I'd like to hand it over now to, I'm going to show the videos, some of our Project Impact videos, Chairman and members of the board. But before that, if you will, Chairman, let's have Rob, who's waiting on the line, to actually read the proclamation.
Good evening, Dr. Jenkins, Madam Chair, and illustrious board members. Thank you. The proclamation for Teacher Appreciation Week. Whereas the School Board of Orange County deeply appreciates and values the work and commitment.
We're going to go to video if I don't have Rob on the line. All right. So to celebrate Teacher Appreciation Week, the high school division once again organized Project Impact. Now, it's the fourth year that this project has been a way of showing our appreciation from our graduating seniors, thanking their elementary and middle school teachers who impacted their life. Normally, 100 of these letters would be hand-delivered by school board members and other district leaders, including myself. But this year, due to the circumstances, nothing is normal. Teachers are receiving the letter of a former student, written to them in particular, along with a video of someone reading the letter to them. Well, it's not exactly how we wanted to continue this annual surprise for our teachers. We hope the letter still serves as a testament to the reason they are in education. So within the next few weeks, the other 8,500 letters will be sent to the intended recipients. Tonight, we have a sneak preview of what some teachers will be receiving during Teacher Appreciation Week. This is a letter to Stone Lake's teacher, Mary Ellington. Stephen Clayton is appreciative for her ability to inspire him to have confidence in himself and what he is capable of accomplishing. That confidence will serve him well next year as he will be attending the United States Air Force Academy. Take a look.
Hello, Ms. Ellington. My name is Stephen Clayton. I am a senior at Timber Creek High School. This letter is for you. I'm sure you have had a great number of students over the years and possibly don't remember me, but I wanted you to know that you made such a difference to me and my education. You helped me instill a belief in myself and wanted me to go from a struggling student to one that began to excel during my time in your 5th grade class. Now I find myself a senior in high school, and I can still say you are my favorite teacher, one who believed in me and one who took the time to show me my full educational potential. This is all due to the overall encouragement and care you showed to my education and my future. Before 5th grade, I never believed in myself or my ability, but you pushed me and encouraged me to be the person I am today, and for that I cannot thank you enough. You demonstrated the importance of education, and without that, I would not have the opportunities that I find myself with today. Still, to this day, I have kept in touch with a majority of the kids I experienced 5th grade with, and we often comment on how you affected all of our lives in some way for the better. Your overall care for me and my future made all the difference. I have decided to pursue a career in aviation, and I am undertaking receiving my private pilot's license. I have been selected as a candidate for the United States Air Force Academy. I just received my citizenship in October of last year and received a congressional nomination from Congressman Soto. I cannot express enough the overall appreciation I have for you and the tons of other children's lives you have been able to touch. Sometimes I feel that people like yourself who go the extra mile do not understand the full impact that they have made, and although it has been almost 7 years since I was in class with you, I felt you needed to fully understand the difference you have made to me and my future. It all changed the day I walked into your class. Anyone is lucky to have you as their teacher, and I am just so very grateful you were mine. Once again, thank you for all that you have done for me and all that you do for others.
Wonderful. Those wonderful letters never fail to bring tears to the teachers who are surprised by a guest who reads them. But it also brings tears to our eyes as we are trying to get through those letters. Phenomenal things that teachers have done that make a difference in our young people's lives, and so heartwarming to actually read those letters and share them with our teachers. Congratulations to all of our teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week. Madam Chair, if you will, I believe we have our Teacher of the Year, Rod Pascal, queued up now.
Good evening, Dr. Jenkins, Madam Chair, and illustrious board members. I have the proclamation for Teacher Appreciation Week. Whereas the School Board of Orange County deeply appreciates and values the work and commitment of its instructional staff, especially during these unprecedented times. And whereas the vision of Orange County Public Schools is to ensure every student has a promising and successful future. And whereas achieving the district's vision is dependent upon our teachers, along with the support of families and the community. And whereas teachers' creativity with their students and their engagement with parents are essential components for student success during distance learning. And whereas teaching is a profession that requires the ability and desire to impart knowledge, creativity, patience, and persistence, and adapt to all learning environments for all students. And whereas teachers dedicate themselves to their students' academic success, as well as their social and emotional well-being. And whereas, besides parents and family members, teachers are the single most influential individuals in the lives of our students and their future. And whereas, Teacher Appreciation Week is observed nationally during the first full week of May. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Orange County encourages parents, students, administrators, support staff, community partners, and citizens to show admiration and gratitude to the teachers of Orange County Public Schools, and does hereby proclaim May 4th through May 8th, 2020 as Teacher Appreciation Week.
Wonderful. Great job. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Pascal. And Dr. Jenkins, thank you for that video. Definitely. I needed to hear from a student today, so that was helpful. So let's move on then to the strategic plan update. Dr. Jenkins, we have an update on the USAOC settlement agreement regarding extracurricular activities. I'll turn the meeting to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, it is that time of year where we have another update for our Unitary Status Committee. Remind individuals that we were declared unitary some time ago, but the board in its great wisdom and under the tutelage of member Dr. Gordon, we still very closely monitor all of those areas of our unitary status agreement and report to the board on a regular basis. Tonight, we have the presentation from Doug Patterson, who will be sharing with us athletics extracurricular activities. Mr. Patterson.
Good evening. Madam Chair, Superintendent Jenkins, and school board members, thank you for having me this evening. I'm here tonight, as Dr. Jenkins had said, to give an update on the settlement agreement regarding extracurricular activities. I would like to start by saying that the purpose of the extracurricular activity guidelines here is to advertise athletic tryouts, as well as the club and organizational opportunities at all of our middle and high schools. This is monitored through their website and written lists by myself, and I provide feedback to our athletic directors, our principal, and their designees across all of our middle and high school campuses to ensure they are effectively posting this material. For student athletes to participate in Orange County Public Schools, they must have a physical exam that is good for 365 days performed by a doctor who is licensed in the state of Florida. They must attend all practices and games and meet the eligibility requirements of the Florida High School Athletic Association in Orange County Public Schools, which is an unweighted GPA of 2.0. Also, in order to participate, all of our students must follow the code of student conduct that is adopted by the Orange County Public Schools School. So I'd like to get into a little bit about where you can find this information. Go to the Orange County Public School website, click on Students and Parents, scroll down to Extracurricular Activities. You will be able to locate the list of schools that you are looking for in order to find information opportunities on athletics, clubs, and organizations on our campuses. Once you click on Extracurricular Activities, you will see the entire list of schools that will populate. You will be able to select a school, and once a school is selected, you will see athletic, clubs, and organizations appear. I provide an example of here from Timber Creek High School, track and field, where you can see the information for both boys and girls, varsity track, contact information, and the list of when tryouts are. You can also find this information on school websites directly. The example provided here is from Edgewater High School. If you go to the school's website that you are looking for, you can click on school information, go down to extracurricular activities at that school, and you will again see the athletic, club, and organizational opportunities for that particular school you are looking for. Every year this is updated. The information from the 2019-20 school year will be archived during the week of the 4th of July. Once we return from that week, schools will have the opportunity to upload new information for the 2020-21 school year. They will be shared detailed information through SharePoint in terms of training so they know how to properly upload this information. Once they are trained, the designee on campus will have the opportunity to upload the information. I will receive an email, and once I approve what has been submitted, it will go live on the OCPS website as well as the school websites at the middle and high school level. Provide an example. One from Oak Ridge High School, and the next slide from Ocoee High School. It gives you an idea of what you will find when you go to the school-specific website. From Oak Ridge High School, provide an example from cheerleading, so you can see what it looks like from an athletic standpoint, similar to what I showed you earlier at Timber Creek. And then with Ocoee Middle, I went with an organization, the National Junior Honor Society, where you can see the same detailed information so the students are aware of what they're looking for and the opportunities that they have. Again, I want to thank you for your time and allowing me to present this to you. If you have any questions or comments, I'm welcome to those at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Madam Chair, members of the board, that is our report.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. Let me just check. I don't see any school board members who have indicated they wish to be recognized at this time. So with that,
I do.
Mr. Patterson, okay, let me call.
I do. I just don't have that. It did not come up. My chat thing is not there for my queue. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
That's okay. Let me, I was just going to commend.
I don't have that.
I understand. If you put your mouse down towards the bottom of your screen, does it come up?
I don't have, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I know how to find it. It is not there.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to raise my hand.
That'll work perfect. That will work perfect. Let me just finish my statement to Mr. Patterson, then I will call on you. And I will look for you to raise your hand, and I'll keep you front and center on the screen. Mr. Patterson, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to meet with each of us individually to go over this ahead of time, especially for us newer board members, so we have a better history and understand how important this is. And thank you for the excellent presentation. Now let me recognize Dr. Gordon. Dr. Gordon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, you ended it, but I wanted to get my little 2 cents in, because I'm really, as Dr. Jenkins stated, this is a lot of work. that had been gone into this over the years. And I'm here to let you know that this is one of the finest documents that any school system can have, because if you go out online and research the schools that are still under the DSEG order, and students are still being treated unfairly because of their black or brown skin, in various districts within the state of Florida and in the United States, I have to say that Orange County has done an outstanding job in including our students effectively by advertising and letting them know. This is one of the proudest documents for organizations of activities that we have ever seen. And Dr. Jenkins gets rave reviews as she shared this throughout the nation with the Council of Great City Schools, and we share it with the National School Board Association. I don't know if you are well aware of how important this document is, that you are going to be the board that will have to see to it that this document stays in place. It is nothing to take lightly. Our children are making a great career. They are moving forward and they're winning scholarships and they're going places. And it's because of what the athletic directors and the coaches have done to prepare these students. Now, I did hear Mr. Patterson state that that when they return, they will be able to do it. But in the past, Dr. Jenkins have done a push out where we began to recruit in the middle school, and we get our 8th graders and our 9th graders. But being that the situation is what it is today, I'm going to ask Dr. Jenkins, not now, but I know that they're going to try to find a way. We don't want to lose anybody over the summer because of what's happening, but to see how can we get the information to the 8th graders and the incoming 9th graders, because everybody they should have the digital divide right now, but we want to make sure that all of these students get this information in hand. And there were other measures, he didn't mention all of them, that we could get, because Orange County was very guilty of not being very fair. Okay, equity was just not there. So you guys are the board that's going to have to follow this document, and not only that document, all of the vestiges, knowing what the vestiges are and making sure that we as a board continue to follow it, and that all students are treated fairly in this school district. And Dr. Jenkins have done an outstanding job with her team to make sure that this is an effective program. And we haven't had any complaints that I know of right now. You know, we used to get a lot of complaints, Madam Chair. So I'm just letting you all know this is not a document to take lightly. It is a national document on unitary status, one of the best to acclaim, and this is just one of the vestiges out of all of them that we had to work on very hard. So it's up to each board member to follow it in your district and make sure that students are getting the equity that they need to move forward and to be successful. Thank you, Madam Chair and Madam Superintendent and Doug Patterson and your entire athletic staff, who has done an outstanding job this year. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon. Well said. And, Mr. Patterson, you know the praise from like that from Member Gordon. It does not come without serious consideration. So high praise, that is. Let me also, this is so important to me. I watched from afar as the district made the decision to get out from underneath of the DSEG order. And that was a very, very big decision, and one that comes with an enormous amount of responsibility. So, Dr. Gordon, I want you to know that I, for one, and I know the rest of the board does, but I think it's extremely important that you impress upon all of us the responsibility we inherit by taking on that responsibility. Extremely important. Just earlier this year, we had a parent come to us a couple of times about one of our schools that wasn't doing a very good job of promoting one athletic sport regarding females. And I know that cut to the core with you, with other board members and the superintendent. So we will carry that responsibility that you pass on to us very seriously. Thank you.
Let me tell you how serious it is. Let me tell you, with Dr. Jenkins moving up the ladder, you know, within the national our Council of Great City Schools, as we meet with our former school board members throughout the nation, Texas was so instrumental in helping us with this. Houston was just ideal. South Carolina was ideal in helping us to reach something that was very good. But do you know what happened to them? When we meet them, they say, Gordon, I'm telling you, we're in bad shape now because nobody monitored it. So remember, your legal counsel, which would be under Amy now, they are the legal counsel, and that will be coming in, and you have an awesome monitoring committee. Most of the people that went through monetary status, and Marie Sneed and all of them, she's one of the council that helped us along with Woody, and Frank started it, Frank Kruppenbacher. But those three were involved in helping us to get to this point. A lot of them dropped the ball along the way, not ours, but a lot of the legal teams, because they either left or nobody followed up, or the board didn't have any knowledge about what desegregation and what that unitary status means. So it's very important. I cannot stress it. You do not want to fall back into the old vestiges where we used to be. What you do in one community, you must try to do the same, because I do see things coming up. Oh, let's go get that. Let's go get that. Wait, somebody got to be the keeper. Okay, you did that over there. What did you do over here? That is the key that must be watched on this board. And that's all that I could say to you. And I thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I shared this with Dr. Quinn, but I was the first class in my junior high school under the desegregation order. So I remember, I'm old enough to remember what our schools were like and what that desegregation order did, and it did a tremendous amount of positive. And so by lifting it, we inherit all of that responsibility to keep all of those positive attributes. So again, thank you. I think the other thing, Dr. Gordon, and this has been something has been, I know, extremely important to you and you've fought for, is to keep that committee in place. I think that is also very important, that it's not just the board members alone, but we have I'd say outsiders. They're part of our Orange County family, but they're there to make sure that we honor that commitment of equity to all of our students. So thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, this is a very good item to celebrate. Thank you. Let's move on. Again, Mr. Patterson, we will let you go unless you want to stay with us. And we are going to move on, and I'm going to make a relatively brief public comment announcement, but I do think it's important. I don't know if we have any people on the line. Let me check with Ms. Enval first, find out. Ms. Enval, do we have any callers on the line?
We do not have any callers on the line.
Okay, well, I'm going to run through this a little quicker, but still, in case anybody has tuned into our meeting, I do want to make sure that they know what our process is, because in spite of the fact that we are meeting virtually, and I can tell you that each one of the board members, I know we would all prefer to meet in person, but we have to do this. But we also value enormously hearing from the public. We make much better decisions when we hear from more voices. So we've tried to make sure that we created a process. So in order to provide that governmental transparency, as well as to provide reasonable opportunities for the public to access and participate in the decision-making process, we've established new protocols to comply with various emergency executive and administrative orders that were entered by state, federal, and local entities, including the governor's executive orders and the emergency executive orders issued by the mayor of Orange County. Our protocols were designed to allow the school board to continue to perform essential functions in a manner consistent with law and board policy, while keeping our citizens and our employees safe and connected. The opportunity for public comment during this meeting was published in our board agenda and has been posted on our website. Those opportunities are twofold. One, we've offered members of the public, as they always have the opportunity to email us, but we've encouraged them to email us regarding items that are on the agenda, and to do so before the hour of 5 p.m. on Monday, April 27th, All emails that are received by that time are compiled by staff and provided to the school board members individually and electronically or hard copy by 10 o'clock this morning. At this point, we've received no emails directly related to board agenda items. We did receive a number of emails regarding other subjects, the majority of which pertained to feedback on graduation for our seniors, a crucially important issue to our seniors and our entire community. The second means of communication is to participate by telephone. For members of the public that wish to address the board by telephone, we provided a phone number in advance, and I'm going to provide that number again in the event that somebody is listening or watching and wishes to utilize this number for our next meeting. It's 407-250-6270. Callers were encouraged to enter the queue line between 5:15 and 5:30. In other words, call in between those times. And all public comments that would have been made during that period, it would start usually at about 5:45 to 6 o'clock, would become obviously part of our public record and would be subject to our 3-minute limitation. So since we have no public comments, we will move on with our meeting. But again, for our next meeting, we encourage, as long as we're meeting in this forum, that the public either utilize one of those two avenues to make sure that we know what your thoughts are and opinions are on the items that are on our agenda and any other matters that the board should be aware of. Dr. Jenkins, let me call on you regarding the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Madam Chair.
Okay, no changes to the agenda. We have no comments on the agenda. So is there the member of the board that will move the agenda as presented?
So moved.
I am so sorry. I missed the voice on that. Who is that?
Pam. It's Member Gould.
That's okay. Vice Chair Gould moves. Is there a second? Raise your hand if you want. Second by Member Lopez. All in favor, please say aye. Oh,
Aye.
shoot. I forgot. I have to do a roll call vote. I'm so sorry. Okay. Member Gallo.
Aye.
Member Lopez.
Aye.
Member Colbert.
Aye.
Vice Chair Gould.
Aye.
Member Gordon.
Aye.
Member Castor-Dental.
Aye.
Member Byrd.
Aye.
Likewise, I vote in the affirmative. The motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the non-consent agenda items, approval of the expulsion. I think at this point we go to a closed meeting. Let me turn to Dr. Jenkins at this time.
I apologize, Madam Chair, members of the board. We don't have a speaker, and so that would have been on the consent agenda. We don't have to separate that expulsion.
Okay, I'm sorry. So that was on the consent agenda as well, Dr. Jenkins. Okay. And I should have clarified also, in our pre-agenda meeting, I mentioned that we were going to have a report from General Counsel on a resolution that was also on the consent agenda. I should have brought that up, but if there were any board members who have any concerns about that, please let me know. Otherwise, we will move on to Dr. Jenkins. I'm sorry, we'll move
Madam Chair.
to information. Yes, Dr. Gordon.
All right, thank you, and I'm so sorry that that little thing is not there. Thank you for that. I think the General Counsel, they sent us all of that information, which was very helpful. But I do want you to, since you approved, it was approved by the board, the consent 1501. Okay, and I know that we have not done it. I don't think since you've been in the chair, where we had a request approval to nominate and approve primary and alternate school board members and citizens to serve on the 2020 Value Adjustment Board. I think it would be nice if we could do it one-on-one or whatever. But I think that all of the people that we have asked to be appointed, some of us already have people that have served, but this is 2020, and I don't know if every board member is familiar of what goes on that, but all of us have had the honor of serving on that sometime or another. That's what we do. But it would be good to know what is expected. Someone from the public did call me, and they saw it on the agenda, and they asked, what is it that a citizen could do or not do, so that the other board members will be able to nominate someone from their community as well. But I think they need to know what is the purpose of the Value Adjustment Board? Why is the reason why a board member, and board members can appoint people to be on that committee, and what is expected and what role would they play as a representative of the school board? Because we have a school board member that's generally on there, and then we have community members. So it would be nice, it could be a one-on-one, but I think we need to be told what it all entails. I know, but then the new person that chairs it may have new roles. You served on it, okay? And it's a wonderful committee, but they do use a lot of language that goes above the head of a regular citizen. So we do want people to know that. So there's some kind of way, Madam Chair, you and Dr. Jenkins could get together and just brief us, bring us up to date, bring our citizens up to date of that, because they hear that we do it, but this person called in and said, well, I'd like to serve, but I had to let them know that we've already appointed our people, and sometimes there are vacancies, so the community knows what that board, as well as others, like the Policy Head Start Council, my favorite, and Community Action Board, those are my favorites, okay? What do they entail? You know, they would not mind coming on board and joining, all right?
Absolutely. Dr. Jenkins and Amy, I think that would be probably both of you all working together to give briefings to each of the board members. And maybe you could put together just a one-page document that board members, as Dr. Gordon had suggested, could also share with constituents for the next round, so that people would have a better understanding of how important this is. It comes right down to the value of our property determines the value of the revenues that we take in for our schools every year. So that's the meaningful part to us. Dr. Gordon, did you want to be recognized again? Oops, you're mute.
No, thank you.
Okay, good. All right. So Dr. Jenkins, just to clarify, so we are now on information items. Dr. Jenkins, you're recognized for your report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. As we shared yesterday at the mayor's press conference, just a couple of reminders for our community. This information will also be posted on our website. We always want to make sure parents, family members, students realize we have information available on the website. We mentioned a couple of things, though, that were important for our entire community to be aware of. First and foremost were the graduation plans that we have, virtual graduations to take place during the first week in June. In fact, that information is now going out through Connect Orange messages to families and to students from their principals. For the entire student population, May 27th is the last day of school, which means we need students and parents to just hang in there 4 more weeks with our distance learning to make sure our students gain all the knowledge that they need for this school year that has been quite unique for us. Also, a reminder that food and nutrition services have been faithfully serving Monday, Wednesday, Friday mealtime pickups for schools, at schools that are selected for children who are in need of those meals. We always like to remind folks, even if you are not on free and reduced lunch, if your employment status has changed during this terrible pandemic, you are welcome to come and pick up those meals as well for children in those families. Thanks to our food nutrition service workers, as well as our teachers, administrators, principals who are keeping our 2 main objectives going for us this year. And thanks to the thousands who are also working at home to support Orange County Public Schools so that we keep the doors open and keep the organization running. On the digital learning, we've had over 1.8 million assignments uploaded and turned in, so we're very pleased at the participation. I do want to mention, though, if you know of someone, or if your child has not been in touch or contacted by their school or by their teacher, that means we have been desperately trying to find you. Different phone number, different location, whatever the case may be. If you've not had any contact from your teacher or from your school, would you please call the school so that they know you're okay? We're trying to make sure we have accounting for every last one of our 212,000 students. And then lastly, as we prepare for the closing of school, normally we would have post-planning for our teachers. We would have last days of school for our children. That's when they take their personal belongings home from their lockers, from their desks, from their classrooms. We are asking you not to contact the school. We are making plans to make sure everyone is safe under the social distancing guidelines so that everyone can gather their personal belongings from the schools. So we're asking you at this point, don't call the school just yet. You're going to get information from your principal because we have to have an expanded period of time and schedules for individuals to come and pick up their belongings. And we are on top of that to keep everyone safe if you'll just wait to hear from us. That being said, Madam Chair, members of the board, we're just encouraging everyone, follow those guidelines and stay safe.
Thank you. Let me call next on Amy Envall, our General Counsel. Ms. Envall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you recall, on Tuesday, April 14th, at the regular school board meeting, I had requested the school board meet in an executive session to provide advice concerning settlement negotiations and pending litigation status Nicholas Crawford versus Orange County School Board in case number 2018 CA 007761-0. The executive session was advertised to begin immediately following the school board meeting tonight. But in light of the fact that the board passed the resolution, that executive session has been canceled and is no longer needed. And thank you.
Ms. Envall. All right. We have no committee reports from any board members. Any board members have any issues on their mind, policy discussion that we need to have? I see Member Gould raising her hand, and then I see Member Gordon. So let me call on Vice Chair Gould and then Member Gordon.
Yes, Chair and board members. One of the that I just wanted here is
Member Vice Chair, we're having a hard time hearing you. It's cutting in and out. Can you try again?
okay. Hang on. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay. My headset was probably dying. As we begin to hopefully come into a recovery time, I had the honor of meeting with the county commissioners and the local mayors and city managers in West Orange County virtually this week. And we started to talk about how can we help with projects that we already have funded and on the books for the economy to get going. And I had spoken to the superintendent and the team of facilities and procurement and operations today. And I think what I asked them to do is to share with us the how to become a vendor, as well as kind of the policies for businesses and what that scope is, so that we can share that out there in the community as opportunities come forth, and hopefully we can help with some of the funding that we already have in place for, especially on the construction project side and the rehab of our buildings, with regenerating the economy. The construction side has continued on a little bit, but if we can continue to do our part to lift up, especially our small and mid-sized businesses in the community, and let them know how to participate in contracting, I think that would be just helpful. And then the team is, of course, as they had years ago during the Great Recession, wanting to work with the community as best they can to make the processes as easy as possible to get back out there and get back to work when it's safe and the right time.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Let me just take a moment and run through speakers. Dr. Gordon is next, and then I have Member Castor-Denel, Member Gallo, Member Colbert, and Member Byrd. Let me go to Dr. Gordon. Dr. Gordon, you're recognized.
I want to thank Dr. Jenkins for, I think that's amazing with the 200,000 students, with the 1.8 million assignments. I just think that's awesome, because a lot of times the kids don't want to do the assignment, and you do find some that you cannot find. And I do want to commend her on that That is really outstanding, because getting the assignment in is very important, because some kids, not in this county, but I know some kids in other counties, they would just call in and then not do the assignment. So I just say hats off to her, academic staff, and all of those people out in the field making it happen for our kids. My question is this, Madam Chair. I do know that we have a large homeless population, and I did have some parents calling, but I didn't know if I answered it correctly, so I won't say to Dr. Jenkins what answer I gave them, and I couldn't get to her in time or the staff on yesterday to be able to get an answer. But these are our students without a regular home. 2 questions. Number one, there was a call asking, did they get their laptop? Were they issued? And I told them it was based on the grade level that they were in. But are we keeping up with our homeless? Because I heard that social workers, and I do want to put the community at ease, if we have students that we know that are homeless, we're still looking for those that are homeless and not enrolled. But if we have students that are enrolled, I believe, and Dr. Jenkins needs to clear it up for us, are the social workers going out checking on them and making sure that they are in that 1.8 million assignments?
Dr. Jenkins.
We do have contact with our homeless. In fact, you'll be pleased to know several of them are actually in some of the hotels, and we have deliveries of the free meals that are being provided to others. Quite often they can't come to the delivery site, and so we actually have services where we're taking those meals to the hotels and where they are located. And our office under Dr. Schuler's leadership, who reports to Dr. Vasquez, they are on top of those students that we realize are homeless, making sure that they are having connections with their school and receiving their food.
Dr. Gordon?
That is outstanding. Thank you so very much. I know that they will hear that and the word will get around. And I was so glad to know that they did open up. They were praying that they would open up several of the hotels. That's what the mayor was worried about, the hotels not being open, and then there was no way to put the homeless. So I thank you for that, Dr. Jenkins. Thank you, Madam Chair. So we can if anybody asks us, we can let them know. And if they know of anybody that is homeless and not even enrolled in school, they are taking them. All right? Thank you.
Dr. Gordon, part of your question had to do with laptops. Were you comfortable? You mentioned that you were asked a question about whether the students were receiving laptops.
Yes. Oh, wait. Yes, Dr. Jenkins answered it because if Dr. Schuler and her staff is working with them, I will assure you that they have been provided the technical information or packages that they need to get their assignments in that 1.8 million. I just think that's outstanding. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. So let's go to Member Kester-Daniel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to talk a little bit about the graduation exercises. I've heard from so many parents and students once the superintendent gave the plans and let people know that there is going to be a virtual graduation. I want to share some of their concerns that I hadn't really thought of, since I don't really have a graduating senior. But it really is, when I put myself in their place, I can really understand what a rite of passage that they're missing. So a lot of kids and parents wanted to know more about the virtual graduation. They wanted to know, what does that really consist of? Is it more of a passive event where they're just watching over, from afar? And then is there any involvement for that virtual ceremony? And then also they knew that there was a potential in-person ceremony planned for July, but they wanted to know if there was something else that they could do to ensure that there is something that resembles a little more closely to what is a traditional graduation, where they could maybe spread it out over a number of days, where people are given a time slot, or they stagger the event so that people are spread out, but that students can still walk across the stage, get a picture with the principal, at a distance, and still hear the pomp and circumstance, and then just still have those traditional expectations, and allowing a small group or a family to be present at that time. Some other ideas, maybe that's what's planned for July, I don't know. And I didn't know if it had to be at on the football field, or if schools are allowed to make those decisions of whether it should be in their auditorium. But I know that each high school is unique in what they celebrate, the cultures, the way it's laid out logistically and physically, that I think each leadership team at the high school should be able to kind of personalize the approach to the graduation, in conjunction with parents and students, because they really want to get involved. They have a lot of strong opinions about this. Some other ideas were to publish all the graduating seniors' names in the newspaper. Also, maybe have celebrities be the ones who read their names out, something a little different, maybe Shaquille O'Neal or any of the other contacts we have throughout Orange County, just reaching out to people to make this a little bit more, just make it different. Well, I guess it would be different no matter what we do, but something that others don't have traditionally. But I know that there's a lot of people who are expecting more from our district when it comes up to being creative with our traditional or with our graduation ceremonies. And I just want to know if there's an appetite for that. I know we have restrictions, but is there flexibility for the graduations, and what kind of services and ceremonies we have?
Thank you, Member Castellanos. Let me turn to the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of comments. It is a time like no other. My heart breaks for our young people who don't get that traditional celebration. We took input. Our high school principals have been brainstorming. They took input from their students. We took input from my advisory council. Here's the challenge. The challenge is actually twofold. One, we have 13,000 graduates, and OCPS has always made a stellar effort at making sure we are consistent in how we recognize our graduates. Our graduation programs have been standardized for several years now. So 13,000 graduates, lots of people with creative ideas. What is it that we can actually put forth that provides standard graduation to those 13,000 students? Secondly, the challenge is around the CDC guidelines and social distancing. So we are still at the capacity for no more than 10 gathering. If the community makes it to that second tier, then you are allowed to gather in groups of 50 if we should happen to get to that level. That explains why we've tried to push back as late as possible in July for that face-to-face graduation experience, if at all possible. And every conference call I've been on, I'm on two advisory councils, one for the mayor and one that's providing feedback to the governor. Every piece of information I've seen shared on those conference calls does not make me hopeful that we will have all of the restrictions taken off in July for that face-to-face. But what we have to continue to convey to our young people and to our parents is that we have guidelines that are intended to keep them safe. And so if we are, while we might want to be creative, if in that creativity we, in essence, provide a situation that is less than safe for our young people, because they may not be able to resist this opportunity to hug and embrace and come in close proximity, then we are actually putting them more in harm's way. More importantly, we have to make sure we're staying within the guidelines that are provided for the entire community. We are in a public health emergency, and we have to make sure we are doing our part to keep our children, our young people, our families safe. because those young people go home to parents and to elderly, grandparents, and others where they might easily be able to spread the COVID-19 virus as well. And so I want to assure the board that we have worked pretty diligently. Our principals are doing some creative things. They have been working with Dr. Border and his team, Connect Orange messages going out to both our students and to our families to share with them some of those creative ideas. But we simply have to make sure we're keeping our children safe and staying within those guidelines. Member Castro-Dental did forward me those ideas as well. We've shared them with the group. We're going to try to make sure we keep our children safe, yet celebrate their graduation. More details to come.
Member Castro-Dental, anything further?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Superintendent Jenkins. I certainly appreciate the position that the district is in maintaining the safety of all of our students and our community. And the recommendations that I put forth or that others have is not in any attempt to stray from those recommendations. It was to be more creative within the bounds of what the CDC recommends. And sometimes we just have to think a little differently as far as it may not be everybody all at once at a graduation ceremony. We may have to set it up differently, but somehow maybe allow a student to walk across a stage and with a backdrop of some kind where they still have that kind of crossing and that rite of passage of completion and celebration, and limiting the access for a large group. But I know that our principals are working diligently, and I know that they're also fielding a lot of calls from parents. So, but I do appreciate the difficulties in this. I'm just letting people know that we hear them, and we're looking to solutions.
Thank you, Castro-Dental. Let me hear from Member Gallo next. Member Gallo?
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair. I just kind of want to echo some of what Member Castro-Dental just mentioned with graduation. I know that we've all received several emails from upset students, upset parents about graduation. I mean, we totally understand this. They've missed a lot of last moments. They've missed a lot of milestones. They've missed a rite of passage that they should have received due to the pandemic, and it's nobody's fault. But I just wanted to say how very sorry I am, how heartbroken I am for the parents and the seniors that during this momentous, what should be a momentous event, that we're under these advisories and we can't move forward with the plans that we want and the plans that we wish we could. With that being said, I agree with Member Castro-Dental. I know that principals are working hard. I've talked to my principals in my district, and they're coming up with creative ways to make sure that all our seniors feel recognized and feel special. I know the district's working on some ideas as well. Maybe if we can share those ideas with the public, share some of the great things that we plan on doing, that we are doing. I know that we're talking about doing the drive-through, and maybe give more details about what that will entail so that they realize that we want this to be special, that this is as important to us as it is to them. And then maybe get creative. I don't know if it's possible for us to open up our schools or our football field to some of the graduation seniors. Dr. Jenkins is looking at me for pictures so that they can get like cap and gown pictures. If we could do it like in a timely manner, maybe when they drop off their laptop, pick up their belongings so that they could get that closure with our schools. Because that's another thing that our seniors are missing out on is closure. They have no closure. They didn't get to say goodbye to their campuses. They didn't get to take pictures with their friends. They didn't get to sign yearbooks. They didn't get to do all those things that they're missing terribly. So I didn't know if we could, kind of get creative in some of that just to give them some closure. And I know that we have to follow CDC guidelines and we need to be safe, but just give them an opportunity to come back on campus, take a picture in their cap and gown, and kind of feel that closure. So I don't know if that's something maybe we'd entertain during July, or we could stagger it in the month of June, but that was just one of the ideas. I know that parents have also been tremendous in their support to help us in their emails. So every email that I've received says, we will help you We're here for you, whatever you need. If you need help from us, we're ready. We will get a band of parents to come together and we'll make this work however we can. So to those parents, I want to say thank you. Your support means the world to us and we truly appreciate it. And then just two other items. I just, again, want to recognize the struggles that our parents and our students are facing during this pandemic. We recognize this isn't easy. The fact that we've had 1 million assignments turned in and everybody's doing their part to participate warms my heart. And I just want to say thank you to all our teachers out there, to all our parents that are working full time and trying to help their kids with assignments. Thank you. We know it's been challenging. And then I just wanted also to say that parents have a lot of questions. And the Florida PTA held a webinar yesterday with the Department of Education, the Chancellor, the K-12 Chancellor, Oliva from the Department of Education, along with the FSBA president and the vice president of FADS. And that is recorded, and we did share it out. The Florida PTA shared it out through social media, and it's on their website. But it does answer a lot of those general questions that we've been hearing from parents. So if you get a chance, please go to the Florida PTA website and check it out. I think you'll find it informative. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gallo. Member Colbert.
There we are. Thank you, Madam Chair. I also wanted to acknowledge all of the angst we're feeling from parents and students and all of the pomp and circumstance and tradition that they're missing out on. And we hear you and we feel for you. My heart breaks. So many of the students that were graduating this year, I've known them since preschool. It's deeply personal to me and the other members of the board to be there for those students, and I just want to acknowledge that. Today, we all recorded a personal message for our super scholars, and in that message, one of the things I recognized was that the parallels between this generation and the greatest generation, our grandparents, their lives were shaped by financial crisis, by war, and by a pandemic. They became the greatest generation. So I want to acknowledge that within all of this, and we will make this a special occasion for the children. There are also a great number of good things that are happening out there. Member Gordon mentioned our homeless students. One of our teachers recognized that at one of my schools, there were 102 homeless students. And within 24 hours, she raised enough money to buy school supply kits from Amazon for all 102 of those students. So community members, churches, businesses are stepping up to do for our children and also to participate in the planning for these sort of non-traditional graduations. And I just want to thank the public for what they're doing, thank the members of the community, thank the moms that are out there delivering meals. And I just want you to know how much our children mean to us and that we will do everything within our power to make this year special for them as we all continue to wrap our arms around and take care of our whole community. Thank you for the time, Chair.
Absolutely. Thank you, Member Colbert. Next, Member Byrd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also just wanted to acknowledge the parents, the emails that we received. I know we all have gotten them, and I know how heartbreaking this is, and I want to make sure that that they understand that it is just as heartbreaking for all of us. And like Dr. Jenkins said, if we could just, wave a magic wand and make all the restrictions go away and do it, we would. I wanted to address just a couple of things that I read in the emails. And, one of the ideas that many of them mentioned was an idea from Biloxi, Mississippi. And first of all, I think it's important to remember that that's a different state, and each state is under different guidelines according to their own governor's guidelines. But, that was a school with 360 graduates, 40 students at a time. They were having 9 different ceremonies. with our 13,000 students, we'd have to have 325 different ceremonies. So, that would be a little difficult, I think, to manage. I do agree with my other fellow board members that if there was some way for us to creatively come up with a way for those kids to cross a stage somehow. But like I said, I don't know how we would do that with so many graduates, even if we scheduled times, even for small groups of 40. It would just, it's a lot. That would be a lot of separate times, and it would be difficult to schedule. But I agree. If there's some way we could do that, where we could, allow them to have a picture and allow them to cross the stage, I'm all for that as well. Another thing that I just wanted to address was that, the other school districts, they've often said, other school districts are doing it. Well, when I looked at our chart of some of our school districts in Florida, I think there was about 8 different school districts in that chart and what they're doing. From what I could tell, they're all doing either virtual and in person, like what we have planned, because we, just like the other school districts, do intend to hold in-person graduations in July. I've been hearing some parents feeling like, it's not our intention really to do that, or we're kind of brushing it off, but we really do want to hold those graduation ceremonies if we can. I think every other district that is talking about doing that, it's the same. I read on their websites, it's the same thing. If they can, if we don't have these restrictions and we can gather in those large groups by July, then we will, then they will. I think that that maybe there was just a little confusion about, our desire to do that. And I just want to emphasize again what everyone has said, that, our schools are free to celebrate in different ways. I've seen, I think today, even one of the high schools was handing out signs, yard signs, and T-shirts, senior T-shirts, that kind of thing. So, and I've seen schools just this afternoon, since all of the announcements have been made with dates, I've seen some schools come up with some really interesting things. So I think that the administrators are going to do a really good job of trying to make these kids feel as special as they can at this time, because everyone's heart is just hurting. This is not fair. These kids did not ask for this. They did nothing wrong. This is not their fault, and it's just the circumstances of the time. And I just want I want the parents to know that we are right there with you. We are trying to come up with something. So anyway, so that's what I wanted to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Byrd. Member Vice Chair Gould.
Thank you, Chair. I am one of those grieving mothers. My son was supposed to graduate this coming Sunday from Florida Polytech University, and I have been through the 12 stages of this grief process of him missing out on a lot of year-end things. And they have selected a time in December, but who knows where he'll be with his job and his future life as he goes off into his career. So I recognize how difficult this is, but I also appreciate the concern, not only for the safety of my child and my family, but for the staff in this time. This is a worldwide event. This is not something that is normal. The closest thing that we have to compare to life changing like it is probably World War II. That was the last time that so much of the world was engaged in the same kind of crisis at the exact same time. And it is extremely difficult. It is emotional. It is an emotional roller coaster. And while you want to fling out and say, well, why can't we just buck it up and do it? The ramifications are just huge. They're not only huge for our personal health, but they're huge for our economy if we were ever to cause a flare up when we're just recovering. So I understand how difficult this is, and I am not only most empathetic, but feel like I'm riding that same emotional roller coaster, and parents and students alike are definitely experiencing this in different ways. I'm going to throw out some things that we're going to do at our house. My son's whole family is going to get to attend a backyard virtual 15-minute ceremony on Sunday, exactly at 3:30 when it was supposed to happen. We are going to play pomp and circumstance. We did not get his cap and gown, so we're probably going to make that homemade. Maybe a cape, who knows, superhero cape. But we're taking the time at a point certain to recognize him with people who would not have even been able to make it otherwise, and are making the time to be there virtually and celebrate that moment with him. It's not the same, but it is a moment that we don't want to just let pass by. So I wanted to share that, that I, along with my fellow board members, hear everybody, we understand, and we, like you, want this to pass as quickly as possible, but we have to be prudent while we're moving forward and consider all the factors.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Well, Member Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand the concerns of the parents, and I agree with them and with School Board Member Melissa as well, and with the rest of the school board members. But we have to be very careful on the decisions that we make, because this is about life as well. And at this point, we have to establish priorities. So we have to be very careful on any decision that we make at this moment. So I understand. I would like to have more emails from parents about ideas. I did not receive enough ideas that are following the CDC guidelines. So I highly appreciate they send me more emails to see if I can see more safety in this type of decision related to graduation. I have 2 questions and 1 comment. My first question is about distance learning during summer. How will the distance learning look like in summer, during summer? Do we have any plan at this moment?
Dr. Jenkins, you're recognized.
We do. We'll be sending that information to board members. It's going to be the month of June. June 2nd through the 25th, I believe. It is only for those students who are struggling at the elementary level, and at the secondary level, it is only for course recovery. For students who have failed a class, they'll have an opportunity for course recovery, and it is all virtual. There will not be any in-person summer school, but virtual summer school is in the works, and we'll get you that detailed information the entire month of June.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. I also have another question. Do we have any plans for the ESC students that did not receive any instruction during the distance learning?
Dr. Jenkins?
So there are guidelines we have to go through for compensatory education. All of that is being looked at an individual level for students with their individual IEPs.
Perfect. I also want to congratulate Dr. Schuler for her outstanding leadership with the mental health assistant, ESC, and ESOL support. Her team is doing an amazing job. So I just want to highlight her hard work. She's doing amazing. So every single time I call her or email her, she always have a response a very accurate and effective response. And also the parent liaison they are translating so many information in our OCPS news in Portuguese, in Creole, in Spanish. Thank you so much. Our community is very thankful as well. They are receiving the information at the same time. Everybody is receiving the information at the same time. And that is something that I want to highlight. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Member Lopez. So before we adjourn, I just wanted to take a minute to share, like the rest of the board, just some of the feedback I've received on graduation and some of my personal thoughts on this issue. I know Member Gould and I started receiving a lot more emails, I think, than the rest of the board before a decision was made. There was either a post at Windermere High School or a social media site that was posting that a decision was coming soon and that there would be no graduation ceremony. So in a way, we had an advance look at how the public was reacting. And I will tell you that nearly every one of the emails that I received, all of them were compelling. Nearly all of them were in favor of having a delayed ceremony. Many of them suggested that we do it on our stadium fields, and that we do an outdoor event, and that we wait until July with the hope that things would improve so that we could have that type of ceremony. So when the superintendent called to talk about her ideas and her thought of having a two-pronged approach, one for students that might not have that opportunity to come back in the summer, while also keeping open this window to have an event in the summer, and not quite sure what it would look like. It might need to be in at each of our schools outdoors so that we could stay in compliance. I actually expected that most of the parents would be very happy to hear this because it was very consistent with what I was hearing. I did have concerns, particularly about our students enrolling in the military. I wasn't sure how many we would have, but I knew that those students, more than any others, would probably not be able to come back in July. And that just seemed like such a horrible cost to pay. I know that none of us created this, although I sometimes feel, I'm not entirely sure that I feel that way from reading the emails. I often feel that parents think that we just need to say, the heck with the rules, we're just gonna forge ahead and do this graduation the way we think our children deserve it. So what I wonder about some of the emails, I just want to take a minute. One of the emails, Member Gould, I know you'll recall this. This is one I sent directly to the superintendent, although I know she was copied, but I just knew that she needed to read it too. It was from a student who had been homeless, who had grown up in a very stressful financial environment, had oftentimes, when they were living in an apartment, had to go down to the clubhouse to find a wireless, a Wi-Fi connection, was the first in her family to graduate. Her siblings hadn't graduated, and she wanted her family, first ever in her family to graduate from high school. She wanted all of them to see her walk. There were brothers and sisters who wrote about their siblings, which I think touched me as much as the parents. I have relived over and over again my own children's graduations. I remember my first one, I didn't think it would be that big of a deal to me because, everybody in my family graduated. Well, no, my parents didn't, but Bruce and I graduated from high school, big deal. And yet I found myself the day of his graduation ceremony just being so aware of this profoundly important moment in his life. And I keep playing that back in my head, and I can't separate myself from those parents and those kids, and knowing what They really are losing, and it hurts. So I share all that with you because, well, I kind of hoped people would feel better realizing that we are determined not to give up on this opportunity for this graduation, and that we are going to wait until July. And that for me personally, I'm not looking at the statistics I'm seeing as a reason to give up. In fact, just this weekend, I watched the press conference when the governor was here and he was at Orlando Health. And we hit our peak a month ago. And there were, if I'm remembering right, there was only like 20 people in Orlando Health with COVID and only one in ICU. So I'm looking, and Dr. Jenkins, I recognize you're seeing different data than I'm seeing. I'm actually hitting my own spreadsheet because I don't feel like I can see what's happening with this curve that I keep hearing about. And from what I see, things are improving dramatically. So I'm holding out hope that come July, we can have not an indoor ceremony, but an outdoor ceremony. And it can be something that is real and meaningful and that honors and celebrates our students the way they want and they deserve. And I think that somewhere in the messaging, our parents took away, not that we've heard from many, but the ones we've heard from, somehow they took away that we don't really want that, or we're not really fighting for that. And it's not something that we can fight for. It's data that's going to decide it, and it's going to be the governor and the mayor who are going to make decisions. But it is certainly something that we can hope and pray for and want desperately. So my every email back to every parent, I try to communicate that to them, what I feel in my heart, how regretful I am. And we know it's nobody's fault, and we know it's not fair, and we know all those things, but it doesn't change the fact that, God, we're all moms, and we all know what it feels like when things don't turn out the way we want them to turn out. It hurts like heck, and we want desperately to fix it. That's what we do as moms. We want to fix everything for our kids. And that's what I want as a school board member. And I know the hearts of each and every one of you, and I know that that's what you want. So I just wanted to take this moment, I guess, to share with you and to anybody who might listen how much I want for us to be able to have a ceremony in July and to get as many kids back as we can. But in the meantime, for those kids who won't be here, to do right by them. And that's exactly, Dr. Jenkins, that's exactly what you outlined. That's the plan. It's more plan than I've seen anywhere else in the state, in spite of what I'm hearing. Somehow it hasn't been taken in by everybody with the same, I think, understanding. And if there's a way that anybody can come up with that we can bridge that gap, every single one of those emails matters, because behind every one is a family and a child and a parent that's poured their heart and soul into their kids. And every single one of them matters as if they were my own. So with that, if there aren't any further comments, yes, Member Gallo. Hey, this hand raising's working.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a question based actually on a question that Member Lopez asked regarding summer school. Will our ESE students also be taught virtually this summer, or do we have plans to bring those students into school? I know that with our nonverbal students, they haven't been receiving the therapies that they normally receive, so I didn't know if we had plans over the summer to do something differently with the ESE kids, bring them back.
Dr. Jenkins?
Member Gallo, no, all of the summer school is virtual at this time.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. One more question.
Yes.
For our ELL students or our ESE students, are we providing packets in Spanish?
Member, Dr. Gordon? I'm so sorry. Dr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Any further comments? If not, this meeting is adjourned. God bless you all. Thank you for your patience tonight. Dr. Gordon, it worked.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Love you guys. I feel your pain. I love you guys.
Stay safe.